But the latest thing was Codex.
Excellent.
Well, that's I said earlier on about professionalism. Codex Chaos is really one of the first products of being really professional about it, as in we get the artists, we get the miniature designers, we get the writers all together into a meeting, and we have arguments about, whether noise marine guns should look like guitars or not, things like that. And we actually coordinate all of the efforts together, so we produce something that's a lot closer to being fully integrated. So there's three branches to Games Workshop products. There's miniatures, there's writing, and there's art. Getting them so that they're all going in the same direction and all understanding this is all about doing such and such.
Really is equalize the cheese level, so to speak.
Yeah. So that we can make sure that we're all on board and we all know what's going on. And both me and Jugs were very enthused by the artists and the miniature designs. They were really ideas for this. And we saw it as a good opportunity to try out a new way of writing Codex, which is lost additional information, which isn't necessarily directly related into a tournament winning army, but it's good stuff, it's interesting stuff that people want to know. So we took that opportunity to start doing that back into games again, which really harks back to first edition, Warhammer 40,000, where you got lots of peripheral information, which wasn't the mainstay of the army list, but was good to have anyway, in an effort to make them clearer and actually get them having a direction to them. That sort of stuff then gets shed, that extra baggage was left behind for a while. But now we're happy that we can actually put it back in again without detracting or confusing the main thrust of what we're writing about.
So, okay, question on saying something. Why not include the cultists in the competition? Because now all
because we didn't have time to test them out properly.
To enhance chaos arms, I mean, they should be different, not just marine armies. There's a bunch of Predator Legion, but in any case, they should be different. I should be able to take that Orc Spider Exarch from Elder, steal it from them.
You want it all, dude.
In the old Warhammer 40k, you could have one single miniature from one army turn into chaos. Mm-hmm. It was cool. He would convert the miniatures and.
Yeah, the problem we found with Chaos armies, when we looked at them at tournaments and the ones people have made, is that they were just a random assortment of figures. They were chaotic, if you will.
Yeah.
There was no thrust to them. There wasn't an overall army look or an army feel. Yes, but looks crap at the end of the day. And it's also impossible to make a miniatures range for to back it up. So we decided that we needed to give a bit of focus to the army. And we decided the best thing to focus on, because everybody had them in their armies, was Chaos Space Marines.
I still would enjoy the other aspects of chaos as well.
Well, look, there's nothing to stop you introducing those, but trying to do that and make it so that it's balanced for a tournament, well, it's impossible, really. The bigger the choice people have, the more ways they can create some monster Frankenstein army which will defeat everything it comes across, especially in a tournament where you're only playing somebody in one-off games. Because if you play someone regularly, then you go, he's going to use that Wolf Spider Exarch again, I'll have something ready for it this time. If you're playing somebody one-off in a tournament, then they've got no chance. What's this? Wolf Spider Exarch? What? Was this related? Oh no, I'm dead! That's the end of that.
Generally, that's not feeling good deal, or what happens then?
How do we get the demon princes so high in characteristics?
To show that they're ultra powerful creatures.
18 wounds is quite a lot.
Yes.
Jeez. Can you break that part?
They're not going to die easily, really.
No, well, these are demon princes, These are creatures, these are entities that rule over entire worlds. And to make that clear to people, to actually ram that home, look, these are absolute monsters, they're demigods, quite literally. We decided to break some of the normal rules that we have, because they're also manifestations of creatures which aren't normal physical things. They're not bound by natural laws. So thought it'd be a good opportunity to really go completely over the top and show how extreme a special character, because that's what they are, can be.
But I think,
Go ahead.
the addition was, I think it was, in my opinion, very good. It was added, but I think I'm gonna have a hard time convincing my opponent. Let's use these supplement rules. I wish to use these demon princes. I don't think so. It's not current legal. Sorry.
Well-
Hence, I'm imprisoned in Terminator armor and smiting my opponents.
Yeah, which is after all what he has to draw on as well. So, yeah, I mean, this comes back to an element about special characters which most people don't grasp, which is that they're not primarily there to give you, again, some great uber character that you can smash your opponent with. We use them as an opportunity to take an individual. We've written all about a race or a particular chapter, but it's a chance to take an individual and say, well, how does that apply to this person? Yeah? We talk about having Chaos Lords. What's one of those like? Yeah, we've got a stat line in the army list, sure, but that doesn't tell you anything at all about how you should perceive them, what they should be like, what kind of history they should have. So that's mainly why we do special characters, is so that we can really illuminate, spotlight a particular area of the army, a particular worshipper of a chaos god, and give us the words in the Chaos Codex. And say, like this, guys, now get out there and make your own. Demon Prince, same sort of thing. It's purely there to illuminate what a Demon Prince is like. It's not saying these are the only Demon Princes, or, you must use these in your tournament armies to win. It's saying, well, just so you know, in terms of Warhammer 40,000, this is what a Demon Prince is like. God, it's scary, isn't it?
One little question which kind of annoys me always. Why do greater demons have greater ballistic skill than weapon skill? They don't have any weapons. Why greater? Why not even equal?
A lot of it's traditional because we try and keep the same stat lines for creatures if we can. A, we try not to change them. B, we try and keep them the same in fantasy battles they are in Warhammer 40,000. Demons are in both systems, and rightly so, the demons, they cross over the boundaries. So the reason that the greater demons have got a high ballistic skill is because they've always had a high ballistic skill. And
I do.
yeah, not a very good reason, but a reason. The other thing is that, what would you give the ballistic skill of 3, same as a human being? Nah. Ballistic skill of nothing? They can never use anything at a range? Nah. So, make it higher. Because if you just lower a statistic to 0 because they don't need it, it also starts to skew the points cost of the creature quite a lot. And it looks weird as well. When it goes, 9, 10, 0, 7, 7, 7, 7, all this sort of stuff. It looks like rather odd.
When I look order change, change of waist, look at it. Cool, nice claws, a lot of weapons, doesn't throw harsh language or anything. But still, it's better to use if it could throw rocks or anything. It would be better. Or eating. I mean,
I was wondering how much playtesting will do, because it's a game where people compete and the army should be like balanced. We play a lot before release.
We try to play as much as we can, and we try to get other people to play with stuff as well.
So you do
Not people outside of not people outside the studio. We've tried using external playtesters before, but because we run on a tight schedule, Codex Chaos, written in 13 weeks, yeah? Of which the first 3 or 4 weeks you're going to spend getting the groundwork laid, doing the initial army list, maybe having a few little games yourself. So by the time you've got something you could send to somebody else, you've got 9 weeks left to play with. In our experience, if you send something out to playtesters, they don't get back to you for 3 months. By that time, it's printed, it's in the shops, it's way too late. So we play amongst ourselves, we get people at the studio to play. We have a games night every Thursday night, there's a club at the studio. And we encourage people, we give people who work at the studio army lists. We do the same with the factory. We can give out copies of new material out there and say, play with this, see how you get on. Because it's often really useful to get someone to play who isn't immediately under your gaze, as soon as they get off into a corner somewhere, they'll do things that you never even thought was possible with the list. And we, as we go along, carrying on writing away, we keep getting this feedback and we try and incorporate that. But a lot of balancing it, apart from doing direct playtesting, comes down to purely experience. After a while, you can write something and you go, that's way too good, or that's way too bad. And you try and get things on the right sort of pitch, and you know what tricks there are, walls and things, and you keep it balanced.
You haven't changed anything so far after releasing books?
We try to avoid that because if we wanted to change something in the book, we do all the time. There are errors that are actually done in the printing process. There's one in Codex Chaos, Space Marine Dreadnought, Chaos Space Marine Dreadnought. It says the heavy plasma gun is a movable fire weapon. It's not a Dreadnought. But there's nothing we can do about that. Or there may be some quirk in the rules that we'd like to just curtail and stop people exploiting it. But the thing is, how do we communicate that to people? You know? We've sold over 3,000 copies of Codex Chaos already. Yeah? Unless we ring up everybody at their house and say, oh, you know the Chaos Space Marine Dreadnought data packs? Well, there's a bit that's wrong on it. There's no way of reaching everyone at once and being sure that you've reached everyone at once. I mean, we can put things in White Dwarf, but White Dwarf's around for a month and then it's gone. And in some ways it marks back the first edition 1.40,000 where you needed a stack of books this big to be able to play the game. And we don't want to put people in that position. Generally, if there's a problem, it's not such a big problem that you have to actually physically change it, and you wait until you do a new edition of it and then you fix it then. And in the meantime, the people who are really concerned will get in touch with you and say, I have found the problem. You tell them the answer. Now we've got internet facilities as well. That's another good way of putting out some frequently asked questions type stuff. But we'd rather not try and change things halfway through. It's a bit like driving a car and trying to grab the wheel at the last minute before you go around the corner and go, wait! It's just a good hiding into disaster. If you're not careful, you end up with several different sets of rules going around and nobody knows what the official one really is. So we almost always default to what's printed in the book, unless it's blatantly wrong. In which case we do have to get it wrong, guys. As was the case in the Dark Following books and the early printings of that had rules values in different places. So that kind of thing we do have to correct. But other than that, we'll try and avoid it at all costs and only do it as a real last resort. Just some confusion it causes.
Could the solution to the different rules sets be like White Dwarf special errata issues? For example, I see the problem as the rule sets are not constant at any given time. They are evolving with the new supplements at all times. For example, Epic first consisted of on the Space Marine, then came Armies of the Imperium, everything was cool. Then came Renegades, and nothing was cool anymore. And I would say that what you need for the rules problems is, say, once a year White Dwarf special issue with all the latest rulings. For example, I have sent several questions through the Gates of Fenris and to you, and none of the answers are official. That's one of the problems. We are gamers, we have no sense of humor or structure. When I came here and tried to play with strangers, mainly it was first rules arguments, and they detract on the game. And a solution
the point being though, when we do questions and answers in White Dwarf now, but even if we do once a year, do a special, you know, this is the errata for this year, you've got it, they haven't, you're back to square one again, aren't you? You're playing the game, you assume the rules work a certain way, halfway through he pulls out the errata edition. Oh no, it's out this month! You're still back to square one.
Once a year, for example, every January you would come, and most of the people would know it. And Because we wouldn't, well, they aren't following the date. And a good commander always keeps his troops up to date.
You could make
Well,
more
I
money.
argue that simply by watching the Q&A sessions, looking on Games Defenders, you're keeping up to date that way anyway. Whose benefit is it for? Is it for yours or is it for someone else's? You know, apart from anything else, you've got to consider someone who's coming fairly fresh into the hobby. Yeah, they've just bought their first rule set. They've just bought their first army. Oh, I got the errata for last year. What? What errata for last year? Oh, there'll be another one in 2 months, you know. Oh God, what have I got myself into? You know, it's very daunting for them. And most of the stuff that'll be in there are things they'll never run across. You know, we're talking about things where you played for years and years and years, and you're really interested in that strict definition you need to know, because if I use my Doom Weavers in combination with Psychic Lock, does it destroy the Titan? Because that's a trick you've picked up in playing for years. And it's only the minority of players that actually play to that very, 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 very strong, high level of gaming. Yeah?
But we're the ones who
In
can play.
tournament play. And you're the ones who can play, yeah. And you're the ones that we reply to directly. Rather than upsetting all the rest of the gamers by telling them lots of things that they, at the end of the day, they don't need to know. They're quite happy with things as they are. And of course, because we do revised edition, next edition, we fix the problem. And that's the end of that.
So new 40K is coming.
Eventually.
But
But
will the codexes be modified, or will they stay?
well,
Or
we're
just
doing
give me a
Warhammer.
I was just giving small errata sheets and update this, update that.
We don't envisage Warhammer 40,000 changing so much that you can't just go through and say, oh, Assault Cannon, they don't do a D10 damage anymore, they do a D6. I'll just cross that out on my data sheet. So that they should still stay useful enough. We will reprint new codexes with the right information in it, obviously. And probably take the opportunity to make some minor changes as well. But you should be able to soldier on with the codexes you've got. But, I mean, the plan is with Warhammer that the actual Warhammer armies books don't change at all. You know, there's maybe a few references where it says, you know, Warhammer Battle Magic, and they want to change it to Warhammer Magic just so you know what the current version is, but that's literally it. They don't want to change anything apart from that. And we're not going to go down that route. We're not completely wedded to not changing anything in the list. Because, for example, if we do Warhammer 40,000, we'd like to revise Codex Eldar. It's one of the ones which is obviously better. Space Wars and Eldar, they're the two. Yeah, coughs from all the Space Wars and Eldar, but because they have some advantages which unbalance them in terms of straight one-to-one gaming. But, I mean, conversely, when we do the next Warhammer 40,000, we want to go away from the idea that the only way you can play is using mission cards and fighting each other with 1,500 points aside, bash, bash, bash. We'd rather put in some Necromunda-style scenarios in there, as I discussed earlier on, to do with Warhammer, where you have a last stand scenario, you have an ambush scenario, all the rest of it. We'd rather diversify it that way, and get away from the idea that the only way that you can play is to win, knock down and drag out fights. Basically to take it back towards the more role-playing side of it, because a lot of people like to put that into their games anyway. And at the moment, we don't have the facilities to do that. They have to do a lot of work on their own if they're going to achieve that game. Yeah.
Robecon.